Did you ever see the Vontaze Bertha hit live speed?
No.
You only saw it slow down.
Uh-huh.
Live speed, it looks like a regular football hit. The tight end's even getting
You
up.
mean from the 10 years ago?
No. Tight end was getting up. Yeah, okay. Ray Lewis made it to the Hall of Fame with those hits.
Right, okay. I wouldn't disagree with that.
Like Ed Reed made it to the Hall of Fame with those hits.
Times have changed, Omar.
Yeah. It's crazy. Hold on.
You out there yesterday?
Yeah, hold on one second. Not ready. I forgot about the Facebook audience. Not ready. Okay. Sound off. Ready to go. Take your last cup of water, Dave, before you die of thirst.
Now we go through the desert, Omar.
When you're reading questions, I'm drinking, Dave. Go ahead. You ready?
All right.
Yeah.
Let's start in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
So the Miami Dolphins have concluded the first quarter of the season. 2019, we're one quarter down, 3 more to go, with a loss against the Los Angeles Chargers. Dave, I got a little nervous there early in the beginning, 30-10, but in the first half,
They actually had a lead, Omar.
They actually had a lead.
That made you nervous. They got a lead.
What made me nervous, Dave? We're here talking X's and Omar with Sentinel columnist Dave Hyde. I am Omar Kelly. And let's get into what made me nervous. Because I'm watching, I watch line of scrimmage. I watch line play. And for once, the Dolphins actually played well at the line of scrimmage, which is where I believe football is won and lost. They held the Chargers, which came into the game averaging 5.2 rushing yards per attempt, to less than 3 yards per carry.
Wait, all I'm hearing from you is throw the season for Tua. You got to get the quarterback. Now you're saying it's all about the line.
No. It's not all about. Without the quarterback, Dave, you're wasting your time. There's a car without an engine, Dave. And we as the Dolphin fan base have been a car without an engine for nearly 2 decades now.
We haven't been much of a car. The lines haven't been very good either.
Hey, sometimes you get the rims on the car with Ndamukong Suh and Mike Wallace and Brandon Marshall. But you know what? If the engine isn't right, Dave, that car is not going to take you where you need to go.
But you were right. Sunday, for the first time for a quarter.
Yeah.
You saw.
Yeah, for a half. They were respectable for a half, Dave. Give them that.
Okay.
They missed some field goals. They, wasted some touchdown opportunities. Balls dropped in the red zone. Things of that nature. Stuff Dolphins do.
It was a perfect Dolphin Sunday. There was just enough for the fan to think, hey, we're competitive now. And yet they didn't come within 20 points of the Chargers.
I was nervous, Dave.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do when they're going into the fourth quarter and they got a chance?
The Bengals game, that's going to be the Tua Bowl.
Well, this is the Redskins.
This is Tua Bowl 1.
The Redskins, the Bengals are playing teams close, other than Pittsburgh on Sunday.
But Redskins have a coach who's fighting for his job and his NFL future.
I mean, that would scare me.
Yeah, and
that works to the Dolphins' benefit.
Absolutely.
A coach trying to save his job.
Save my job. Well, let's get to the first question of X's and Omar. What did you take from the Chargers loss, Dave?
I didn't take much. And I know everybody's playing Little League and saying, oh, they were competitive.
Orange slices for everybody,
the
Dave.
first question to Josh Rosen, was that the best half of football you played? I mean, the standards around this team are so low that we might as well be talking, give them orange slices.
Orange slices for everybody, Dave.
Participation trophies, because, come on. I didn't take much. Chargers without 7 starters on offense, according to LA media. They were without their best player on defense.
Hey, if there
and
was
the
a time
Dolphins,
to rest some important guys,
they're
Dave.
on the road where they haven't won the last 8 games dating to 1982.
Hey.
And the Chargers won by 20.
They slept well through that first half, Dave.
I didn't take much from the Dolphins other than 4 down, 12 to go.
Luke Fader, our faithful Luke Fader, is there an advantage to the Dolphins having an early bye week this week, Dave?
Well, whenever any team has a bye week, I mean, whoever's injured is going to have a chance to come back.
Absolutely.
Okay, but whether it's week 4, week 12, it's going to be the same story.
Jesse Davis, he could have played last week. He thought he was going to play last week, but that's what you do when you're trying to lose, Dave. You make sure you sit the guys in. Yeah, they could help me, but you know what? I'm going to put Isaiah Prince in there. And he actually played decent. He played decent. But Jesse Davis, Albert Wilson, Bobby McCain, they all will have a chance to heal. Jamal Wiltz has a groin, the nickel cornerback. Those are kind of important. You need one of those. He's coming back. But you know what, Dave? This bye week could have been put at week 10. It really wouldn't make a difference.
It wouldn't make a difference. It would be the same story. Whoever's hurt has a chance, but does it really give them a chance?
But here's the thing about it, Dave. Do you really believe, if let's say everybody from last year's team came back, Wake, Quinn, who's playing great with Dallas, Ryan Tannehill, everybody came back, would they still be on 4?
I think they could have beat the Chargers. The Chargers aren't going to scare anybody, and I get the Ravens.
Injury decimated Chargers or the regular Chargers?
And let's talk about Baltimore's 2-2. They beat 2 awful teams. They're not a great team. So
they look great against the Dolphins.
They look well. A lot of teams have, Omar. Okay, Herbert GMS with Taco Charlton playing well. His statement: when will Charles Harris be released?
That's so unfair. The guy just got here after being dumped from one team, Dallas, coming to Miami, playing without even knowing anything much about the defense, and contributed 6 tackles and his second sack of the season against. That's more production than they've had on the entire defensive line. 2 games.
Again, the standards are so low.
2 games.
I saw a few plays where he was just rolled in the run game. So, look, he has contributed. He's had production.
Hey, Charles Harris gets rolled and he doesn't even give you any sacks.
When will he be released, Omar? Where's that?
I think we're at the point now where we say we're definitely not picking up Charles Harris's 5th-year option. And if you can somehow add enough pass rushers to this team in the offseason, which I don't think you can, considering Robert Quinn's kind of going to be the best free agent pass rusher out there, outside of the Texans, the former Texans, Jadeveon Clowney, who basically told the Dolphins, thanks, but no thanks, not interested.
Yeah, it's going to be the tough thing. Oh, you have $120 million. Well, there's not always a lot of great talent out there.
Ooh, listen,
so.
You're basically banking on a lot of guys being waived. But we'll get into that later in the show.
All right, Omar. Our next one comes from Remy. Dieter, Kilgore, and Boehm look good. Are they watching the same games I am? I mean, can they be reliable long-term solutions, or are they just not bad? Good question.
That's a good question. I think Evan Brohm, I'm saying his name wrong, he started at right guard. He's a veteran the Dolphins traded for. I looked at his play, and I wonder, why wasn't he playing? The last 2 games he played, why wasn't he playing earlier this season? Because he's clearly better than whatever else you got going on. And I think they helped the Dolphins average 4.0 yards per carry last week. Hey, that's not great, but it's respectable.
Here's my answer on a lot of these young guys or names we don't know. Let's come back in December. Let's revisit this, where they are, how good they are, because the whole story this season is finding 15 guys.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
20,
maybe.
20.
You're going to be
20 that can make your team.
You're getting greedy, Omar. You're getting greedy.
I think they're 20. I've counted. It's 22 guys going to be back.
Finding guys take steps forward that you can say, maybe he can help us.
It's funny. Back when they were in training camp, Dave, I did a count of how many guys I felt actually belonged in the NFL on the roster, and the count came to 32. Now that we're actually in season, I counted again.
I get it's gone down.
Yeah, I've counted again. I'm at 22.
And people wonder why they've struggled at times in special teams. Well, that's the back half of your roster,
okay,
okay. Omar, this team is among the winless in the NFL, and we haven't seen improvement from a lot of players. Who is on the list of guys you hope to see improve in 2019, the last 12 games?
Well, Kalen Ballage, he's a young guy. I watched it. Frank Gore swears by him, thinks he's going to be good. Young, the coaches love him, works hard, does everything you ask. Seen him be effective catching passes. Hell, he caught 90 passes at Arizona State University. Like, hands are not the issue. However, right now, opportunities here, hands have become the issue. He's not getting help from the offensive line, but that's still no excuse for not averaging at least 3 yards per carry.
Well, it's no excuse for the drops, right?
Yeah,
I mean, certainly on the because he came in
as
with
a pass catching back.
That was his. That's why he was
That's the
drafted.
forte, absolutely.
Yeah, so
a big, powerful pass catching back. And I've seen him against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that week of practice. He killed it. Top performer in a week of practice on offense for Miami. And he was good for a big run every day. And then the season started.
Okay, I'm going to go. I mean, you could go a lot of places here. Jerome Baker, you want to see him taking some.
Oh, that's yeah.
Preston Williams. The way this franchise is being planned out here, the blueprint. Anybody on the offensive line, you need Michael Dieter to play. I know the
I will
previous.
say to you, he is the worst. He is the least productive. The most struggle comes from Michael Dieter on that offensive
and that's
line.
surprising. You know, comes from a run factory, an offensive line factory in Wisconsin. He drafted third.
You watch the game, he's on his
He's basically why
Yeah.
Pat Flaherty got fired in July, the offensive line coach, because he wasn't in there. So you want, and next year you're going to have a rookie quarterback playing there.
But
you need to have some help for that rookie quarterback. You need some of these linemen to start.
Let me ask you an important question. It's one that I have bounced around in my head all weekend since Sunday's game. Isaiah Prince, the guy who has been just clobbered to death by his position coach, gets in there, actually plays well. His position coach says, hey, he didn't play well. And do you want him to continue to play next week? Or would you rather go with the veteran, Webb, go back to right tackle, Jesse Day? Do you need to see Isaiah Prince along with Michael Dieter if this season is really about the future?
Well, here's the question. They're tearing guys down, I assume, and trying to build them back up into the pro game, all right?
That works.
Now, is Prince, is he have the complete game ready? He played well in spurts. I mean, which is...
He helped you in the run game.
You'll take that right now.
He played Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
How many people,
I was gonna
he
say,
only gave up half, and it really
both
wasn't
the
his
tackles,
responsibility.
Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, and Ingram got hurt midway through the game or so. But, you know, they were...
Joey Bosa lined up on his side.
Yeah, they weren't the heat-seeking missiles that I thought they were going to be.
Joey Bosa saw Isaiah Prince and said, I want that side, I want that guy, and he only got half a sack, and that wasn't even Isaiah Prince's fault.
Okay, to answer your question, I'm not going crazy saying I need to see Isaiah Prince,
No.
okay? We're gonna.
But do you want him to play in this season, Dave?
Well,
Against the Redskins on
look,
on next Sunday?
You're going to, at some point, have to trust the coaches, see a lot more of Isaiah Prince than we do. And
do you want him to play, Dave? You didn't answer the question. Against Washington, who is playing you for the Tua Bowl, do you want Isaiah Prince to
are you saying do you want your worst players on the field? Is that
I didn't say
that?
I wasn't saying that.
Is that the
I
question,
just said,
Omar?
Do you want the young players to play? Do you want to invest in the young players, Dave? Do you want to see them get better next week against Washington?
Omar, they have lost by an average of what, 30-something a game? Can they get worse? I mean, whatever they're doing, it's working right now. It's working.
But Isaiah Prince helped the offensive line improve.
Okay, don't
4
play
yards
him.
per
Don't
carry.
play him then. Is that what you're saying?
Only 2 of those
Where
sacks.
are you going with this question, Omar?
I'm just saying. What do you mean? All right. Our next question comes from Navy Vet, who asks, are we being outscored 81-0 in the second half of games? Is it bad coaching? Is it coaches? Are coaches are coaching? Coaches are saying execution. I say no excuses. Why are they being outscored 81-0 in the second half?
Let's keep this really simple, Omar. Really simple. They are an awful team. Okay, they are awful, and they can't run the ball.
They ran it last week.
Okay, for a little over a quarter they ran it. Okay, for the
Give 'em a
first
half.
time
Give 'em
all
a half.
year.
Okay.
For the first time all year. Okay.
Mark Walton's runs in the fourth quarter.
They're last in the league in rushing, I would assume. I mean, they were going into that game, and okay, the other teams are running the ball, which gets into time of possession, the defense is exhausted by midway through the quarter most games, okay? And you want to see number one reason why they're being outscored 81-0. Number one is they're awful. Second, their time of possession worst in the league. The other team has the ball for over 37 minutes. typically you want your defense, good teams want their defense on the field less than 30 minutes, 27, 28. The Dolphins' defense is on the field 37 minutes a game. That is awful.
The part of the reason why you're struggling in the defensive line is because you've got no rotation on the defensive tackle spots, and they begin to wear down. But I will say this, they rotated a little bit better last week, held the Chargers less than 100 rushing yards, 2.6 yards per carry. I was like, I've got y'all. He balled.
Remember the Chargers offense was out 7 starters. Okay.
Melvin Ingram didn't even play. But listen, they did a respectable job. Issa Dudman asks, are coaches calling vanilla plays, this is a good one, game plans and minimal adjustments on purpose or because they know better? How can we assess who should continue to be invested in with this rebuild like the players are playing now?
So to break down that question, is there a conspiracy theory being flown out of there, or are they just saying, do the coaches not know better, that they're too vanilla? Because these coaches, let's be honest, they came from New England. They've seen as sophisticated strategies as you can. And again, I'm going to come back to what I always say. The offensive line is not very good.
Yep, intentionally.
Okay.
You made it that way.
Yeah, all right. And you got a lot of holes all over the place. They got to keep it simple, okay? You're not.
But on defense, though, we've seen some situations this year where it's like 2nd and 19. Last week it was like 2nd and 19 on Phillip Rivers. And they dropped everybody in the coverage and behind where the first down marker was. And then they sat there and they let them convert. They let them gain like 14 yards of the 19 that they had to gain. They didn't blitz. They rushed 4. What on 2nd and 19 against Phillip Rivers? You would think I want to rush that timing. Let me blitz. They rushed 4, Dave. And how successful are they with getting forward pressure?
See, I'm sorry. I'm not answering that question because this is getting into the detailed brushstrokes of a season that everybody knows is about the big picture, right? I mean, are we going to quibble about?
But are we going to debate? Why can't we? Why are they calling such vanilla plays? I'm sorry.
The only thing I can think of is they do not trust, and rightfully so. They do. Either they don't have the time to trust the players to do what they want, or they just don't have the players. Because we could go off the tracks a little bit, which Omar wants to.
Dude, listen, I live off the tracks, Dave. I live off the tracks, Dave.
You're onto the tanking conspiracy.
If these coaches are so good, there's no way they're not doing this vanilla stuff on purpose. The GM sabotaged the offensive line.
Sabotage?
You trade Larry Tunsil.
The whole roster is sabotaged by that standard. Don't just stick to the offensive line.
But we know the offensive line kind of makes it go. You have too much stress on the defense. Quarterback doesn't have any time. Running game can't work. You sabotage the offensive line. The coach got fired in the first week, Dave. Coach got fired in the first week.
First week of training camp, Pat Flaherty, the offensive line coach. You know what? And I'll go back to one of my basic principles of this season, and I'm going to try to stick to it. These coaches have wide latitude this year because everybody's going to come after them because this doesn't work and this doesn't work, and why are they doing this? This roster is purposely bad, okay? So no matter what they do, they're going to be in trouble. It ain't going to work.
The next question comes from GH Highway, and I'm glad that I got to ask this first because I want to back Dave into a corner here because no media member knows Steve Ross like Dave Hyde knows Steve Ross. If Jim Harbaugh gets released from Michigan, does Steve Ross miss the Harbaugh train again, or does he replace Flores?
I would be stunned if they come off Flores. I'd be embarrassed and disappointed and almost disgusted because they knew what they were setting Brian Flores up to do this year. And he knew what he was stepping into. We're all big boys.
Yes.
We all saw it, okay? And to take this a step further, when there were rumors of they were going to go after Harbaugh this last offseason, I did get in touch with Steve Ross, and I asked him, and he said, "No, I'm not interested in Harbaugh." So I
And even
assume
if he was
nothing's
released,
changed.
people got to understand, Michigan is Steve Ross's other pro franchise. And Steve Ross had a hand in getting Harbaugh to Michigan. Steve Ross probably, let's not lie about it, cares about Michigan more than he cares about the Dolphins. So, even though he's got more money associated with the Dolphins, this is a business. That's his passion.
Well, that's a business school.
Yeah,
That's his business school,
yeah.
Steve Ross School of Business.
But I think Michigan struggles would turn him off Harbaugh. Because this is
I am assuming the question is based on the, and it
It's
was
based on his past flirtations.
if Harbaugh gets released.
Yes.
If he's not the Michigan coach anymore, which he's a free agent at that point, but I don't think.
Even if he's released, I think Steve Ross is
I
off that train.
I think they are all in on Brian Flores and rightfully so, considering what this season is about.
Steve Ross has given all of his coaches at least 3 seasons. I don't see that ever changing.
Yeah. Omar, Kevin Beal asks, after watching Kalen Ballage's hands the first 4 games, I'm extremely disappointed. Was it ever noted during the pre-draft talk that he had poor hands or was a poor pass catcher at Arizona State?
That was his specialty.
That was. I don't think he dropped a pass, did he?
That
was one of the stats that came out.
He was the 3rd down back at Arizona State. He wasn't the guy that got the heavy workload. He was the guy that came in and helped move the sticks on 3rd down, passing game, making guys miss. Even some red zone plays. Why it hasn't worked this year for him?
Well, I think
don't
it's
know.
real simple. Confidence
Yeah.
is a mysterious thing for anybody at work. You, me, anybody out there.
You lose
If
your mojo from time to time, Dave?
If you lose that mojo and it's not working, it's tough to do, and especially in pro sports where it's very pronounced if you don't have confidence.
I mean, everybody in the world says Kenyon Drake should be getting more touches and more carries and more opportunities.
Kenyon Drake had a nice game. He had a nice game. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, give him that. He played
Absolutely.
very well.
I
Very
bet you'd still
productive.
be the backup next week. I'm just saying.
Why would that be, Omar?
Hey, we're just trying to preserve Kenyon. This week, Brian Flores acknowledged that the Dolphins are building a team on the fly. This is the first time, he was reassessing his team at the bye week, first quarter of the season, and he said, hey, not to make excuses,
We're not a good team anymore?
but we're
We're not a good team anymore.
No. They'll admit they're far from a good team. They'll openly admit they're far from a good team.
Which was the constant talk
But
in August.
now, he's like, yo, we're building a team on the fly. He said that in his own words.
Welcome to our world. We've seen this. Why is he just coming? I mean, why is he just saying this now? Is what I want.
I don't know.
Because they could have said all along, hey, are you tanking? We are creating a team here. Okay?
We're creating a
You
foundation.
call it whatever you want. We're bringing in young players. We're creating a culture and a team.
So you
and
think
all
they
this.
should just brand this as we're
Well, it's a
creating
little late
culture.
now. It's a little late now. I mean, it should have been.
The brand is Tank for Tua, sir. But it should have been building a culture.
Well, building. Look, you call it whatever you want again, but we are ripping this roster down. We're finding players who wants to be here, who can be here, who can
a lot
play.
of players let you know they didn't want to be here.
A lot still don't want to be here, but okay. Omar, from South Beach Kip? What are the chances that all 3 first-rounders are among the top 15 selections?
Ooh, I think that's a good possibility. I think depending on what happens with the Steelers the rest of the way, I'm not a Mason Rudolph fan. I think that might be a top 8 pick. You might not get into the top 5, but I think it might be a top 8 pick. And you spend an 11 on Minka Fitzpatrick. Good trade to me.
Trade. Then what do you think? Are you going to find a player as good as Minka Fitzpatrick at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
One of those Alabama receivers, Dave?
First of all, it's 50-50 you'll get a good player in the draft,
What's
right?
it's one of those Alabama receivers, Dave?
Well, where were you drafting with the first pick?
Yeah.
Are you drafting
Of course
number 1 overall? That's
Yes,
the question.
of course
That's what I
I'm
meant.
drafting number 1 overall. I have to draft number 1 overall. I can't chance that.
They are so down the road for that number 1 pick. If
You got to
they
scare everybody off, Dave. You got to let Washington know you mean business. You got to let Cincinnati know you mean business.
Well, they're going to play those teams. What do you mean scare them off? They're going to play Washington. Okay, down here for Tank Bowl 1. There's probably going to be a 2 and a 3.
Yeah, there's going to be a Tank Bowl 2. I don't know if there's going to be a 3, but yeah, unless the Jets, we'll see what
The
happens.
Texans, though, they aren't going to be in the top 15 unless
Unless
the wheels fall off.
Unless they lose Deshaun Watson,
Right,
they
right.
should be, you're picking in the 20s.
Right. Low 20s.
Look at the rest of that division. Look at that division.
Well, I mean,
Like Tennessee might walk out of that division.
they're all decent, though. None of them are AFC East-ish. There's no Jets there. There's no Dolphins there.
Are you saying that they would kick the AFC East?
Oh,
butt?
absolutely. Well, they'd finish second in the AFC East, but you got
Every team would finish second in the AFC East?
Look at who Texans are playing. In their AFC South, you got Tennessee, decent, middling. You got Jacksonville, decent, middling. They who knows?
Young rookie quarterback.
And Indianapolis, which they're okay. They're not. Look, when they lost Andrew Luck, they're going to be awful. They're not awful. You got 3 500
They're in the 7
teams
and
there.
9 realm. They're all in the 7 and 9 realm.
Right, which is where Pittsburgh probably will end up too.
Ooh, you're a believer.
I'm a believer. Well, 7 and 9. All right, Omar. Josh Holtz asks if the Dolphins miss out on Tua. Oh my God! If they miss, let's just stop it there. If they miss out on Tua, the season is a complete disaster. Which QB are you drafting? And please don't say Fromm. That's the only wrong answer.
I do believe Fromm is the wrong answer because I think that Fromm is going to be an Andy Dalton type quarterback in the NFL. However, I do believe that there's a possibility that there will be 5, if not 6 first-round quarterbacks. And, to me, the right answer for the second best quarterback, because I'm doing what it takes for the number 1, is Jordan Love. Utah's developmental quarterback. He's got a good enough arm. He really has size, mobility. The arm reminds me of Joe Flacco, a young Joe Flacco, not the aged Joe Flacco.
You are so trustworthy of your own ability to see this stuff, Omar. I am impressed.
Oklahoma's Jalen Hurts, I like it. It's creative, but I would rather have Oklahoma's coach than his quarterback.
Boy, they would scare you a little, wouldn't it?
If I'm Cincinnati, I got to hire that guy.
It was scary. Okay,
Washington.
Baker Mayfield, number 1 pick, out of nowhere. Remember, nobody thought.
Remember he coached Patrick Mahomes, too.
This guy, you're right. This is the guy you need.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, now Jalen Hurts. Like, seriously? Like, really? Washington's got to go get him.
Somebody's going to. The thing is, people tried to get him last year, and he didn't want to leave Oklahoma. And so the question is, what's he waiting on? The word was he was waiting on the Dallas job if that came open. Now, I don't know. I don't know the guy well enough to say that's right or wrong.
Yeah,
but
Dallas ain't never coming open. Well, maybe at the end of the
here's my thought on the quarterbacks. Okay, all the work's still being done. A year ago, nobody knew Kyler Murray was going to be the number 1 pick.
That is
2
correct.
years ago, nobody knew Baker Mayfield was number 1 pick.
That is correct.
At this point, just sit back, let the answer come to you. It'll come. Just keep watching.
So is it who leads their team to the
I don't
big
know.
game?
You'll know.
Oh, I know already. I will know. I know already. Rick Morgan asked, if we end the season with the number 1 pick, do the Dolphins go out and try to grab Conklin in free agency and overpay a right tackle to protect the blind side, or do they hope Jesse Davis is up for the job? Who do you see as a future right tackle for the Miami Dolphins?
Again, we're in what week? We've played 4 games.
4 games.
We are 12 games to go, then free agency.
I'm watching free agency now, Dave.
Yeah, I know. I get it. And I get Conklin is probably the top right tackle out
Jay
there.
Conklin, and I'm not even sure he's that good.
That's the
I'm not
there
even
you
sure
go.
he's Jawan James
This
good.
is what we're going to be talking about in, we're talking about it now.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about it through March 8th or whatever the date is that free
Yeah.
agency start, which is you're going to overpay for
Darrell Williams and
guys you're
and
not
Greg,
sure of.
Jason Spriggs, and it's just the mystery meat of, hey, Jawan James might have held you down.
Look, Conklin's a good tackle. He's also has been injured.
Yeah.
And so, where are you at with him in his career and his health, and how much can you count on him? And the fact, look, when they lost Jawan James, what was it, $52 million, 4 years, $52 million. That tells you, there you go, that's the free agent market for a tackle. The Dolphins didn't want to pay him that, and I get they didn't want to pay him that, but now you're going to be back on the market, and if you want a right tackle, that's the price.
Or you have to take it in high in the draft. Or you have to put a priority on, you get two and you get maybe 2 offensive tackles. And you create a brick wall like Dallas did and give that quarterback the protection and maybe the running game that he needs.
This is the disappointment to me, and I get the Laramie Tunsil trade. I guess they got offered a ton.
2 first-round picks.
Okay, so you hope you get one guy good enough like Tunsil?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, I get it was too much, but now you basically need 3, 4, 5 pieces to build on the offense to get them in place for
to build a foundation.
To give the Tua a
Would you
chance.
rather do that than pay Tunsil the #1 offensive tackle contract as a free agent next offseason?
Here's all I'm saying is you have nobody to help you up front right now. You have nobody to help your quarterback who's coming in, the franchise
Daniel
that
Kilgore's
you
playing a
tagged
pretty
for.
respectable.
Okay, and he's what? How old is he?
He's in his 30s.
And he's had injury problems, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's my point. I was hoping this year would be about the offensive line to get it in place so that when you draft that quarterback, he has a chance.
It was supposed to be about the trenches, and somehow, some way, it just fell apart.
That scares me a little because we're talking about this big picture blueprint and all that.
Chris Greer said, without a doubt, we could bring up the tape, he was going to fortify the trenches, build an offensive and defensive line. What are the worst units on this team? Offensive and defensive line.
Does that give you faith that this blueprint is meticulous and everybody knows it's going to come into view?
Once you get the quarterback, it's all good, Dave.
Yeah. Omar, I can't believe it. Well, all I heard for 5 years from Omar was ball watching. You're a ball watcher. You're a ball watcher. Yeah, I'm in the trenches.
I have come to the light, Dave.
You've like
I
Paul
was
on the road to Damascus.
And here's where it is. And I've said this to you before. I learned my lesson from Suck for Luck. I was on the absolutely not. You can't do that. Sends a wrong message. Players aren't gonna quit. Players aren't gonna not give their effort. They're ashamed of what's going on. And lo and behold, that team turned it around and won 6 games. And where did it get you? It got you Ryan Tannehill and a wasted 7 years.
And where did it get Indianapolis? You know what?
They were a contender.
Okay, but let's look at it from a wide-angle lens here. They were not smart enough to be able to draft a quarterback without sucking for luck. Okay, and they never built properly around him. They weren't smart enough to build around him until it was too late. Mm-hmm. They have a great general manager now, Chris Ballard, but it was too late, and he got beat up, and he said, I want out of here. I don't like football anymore. So that's the scary thing to me, bringing in Tua here.
And they still lose their quarterback and have a better foundation than you.
Yeah.
It shows you the difference that all it takes is a quarterback. I remember, and I say this all the time, I remember that 2011 team very vividly.
You're
because,
speaking to the choir, Omar.
Listen,
I've been singing this for years. Get a quarterback, right?
I remember that 2011 team, and that team was the most talented Dolphins team that I had ever covered. Brandon Marshall, Reggie Bush, Charles Clay. You had offensive linemen, Mike Pouncey, Juwan James. No, not Juwan James. Juwan James came after Tannehill. But listen, and defense, Carlos Dansby, Randy Starrs, Paul Soliai, Cam Wake, Jason Taylor was on that team. And that team went nowhere because they didn't have a quarterback.
All you needed to know the importance. We're not going to go back to the Dan Marino era when he propped up the franchise for years. But 2008, all right, they were coming off 1-11.
1-11.
And who did they get? Chad Pennington.
Yep.
Okay, not Bill Parcells, not any of that other crap mattered. Chad Pennington fell to the sky from him, and all of a sudden, he played great that year.
1-11 to 11-5. Biggest turnaround in NFL history.
And 90% of it was Chad Pennington.
I agree with you.
So, yes, a quarterback. We're all agree. But especially in today's world, you want that quarterback to have a chance to succeed. And
he needs an offensive line to do that.
Yeah. Okay, Omar, Matt Bullenbach, who do you think wants to come to play in Miami next year, considering the free agent market and rookies?
Let's dispel this myth that players don't want to play for the Miami Dolphins, because that's not true. I get hit up by players often that would hook a brother up. This is
Anybody good?
yeah. A lot of times somebody good.
Okay.
This is a team and an organization that people want to come to for the weather. Most of their family, I would say, estimate 40% of the NFL lives in South Florida, and they would love to not have to relocate for the football season and stay here and be with their family. All it takes is them to want to play with a quarterback, because a lot of people don't want to play for a team that's going nowhere.
Sure.
So, and they all believe that, hey, the quarterback is the engine that makes the machine go. Hey, you get the quarterback. They want to play without the quarterback. If you get the quarterback, I think people will be lining up, and there are a lot of South Florida talents. Jabal Sheard, Eric Flowers. I know he was considered as a failure, but he's settling in as a guard right now. And Washington is playing pretty well, and a lot of people who can help you. And I think that they would be interested. There's going to be some decent free agents out there, like Trey Waynes. He's a young cornerback. Minnesota's not exactly doing that great. You show him the money.
Well, look. The first thing the Dolphins have had, whenever I hear that, the wrong guys come to Florida, to Miami to play, okay? They're here look, it's a playground if you treat it like a playground, right?
That's true.
You got to get the right players. Look at the Heat.
And Dominic Sue never treated it like the playground. And not to say that, he was worth the money that not everybody comes down here.
Okay, no, but you got to get the right players for what you're trying to do and where you're going. It's really hard in free agency. It's getting harder and harder in free agency.
I've been told by an executive that worked in the Dolphins organization. He said, and he's moved on to work with other organizations. And he said, the main difference that I learned from where I am to where you are in Miami is that you cannot put everybody in that community and that environment. There are some guys who are going to drown.
But it's also a great benefit because, as you said, players want to be here. Okay,
Yep.
You should be able to get, all things being equal, if you're a decent franchise, players to come here rather than go to Indianapolis or Detroit
Hell,
or
Los
whatever.
Angeles, Texas, New York.
Right.
Can you really raise a family in New York? A lot of players want to be here. Just saying. Well, we don't have to make a prediction this week.
Thank God. I don't care about the players needed and the team needed a bye week. I think we needed a bye week, Omar.
I always have fun.
You were okay? You were
I always have fun, Dave.
You don't get tired of writing. What am I going to write now?
I keep my eye on the prize, Dave. I keep my eye on the prize. I will be watching Alabama on Saturday. If I could watch them on Sunday, I would. Well, thank you for watching X's and Omar. Omar Kelly, Dave Hyde. X and Omar, Wednesday at noon. And we'll send you out the links to the segments later on in the day. Thank you for watching.